Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
This program has always been devoted to discussing issues that may affect you, your family, and your finances. I have asked Idaho Power to come on this program and discuss their move to green energy. They have refused. Evidently, Idaho Power is not as forthright and honest as I thought they were. Here comes Kate Smith, and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning on a Monday. And a good morning to you on a Monday, already July 22nd. My goodness sakes, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of safe summertime driving tires. And, of course, don't forget, too, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our first caller for this morning, a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Well, good morning, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wheels, could you turn up the feed line to me a little bit? It's real faint this morning, just a touch, if you would, please. And right now, thank you, sir, we're going to go to the weather forecast. And the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Heyburn, right there, smack dab in the middle on the Burley-Paul Highway. You can't miss it. They've got all your tools and equipment, all the different tractors and mowers, and they've got all the equipment for both long and short-term rental. You better stop by or give them a call before you stop by and tell them what your needs are. They can help. They will help at K&R Rental. And they're, of course, at 256 South, 600 West of Heyburn. We'll have more in a moment. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It is going to be a warm one today. Here's a look at your weather forecast, and we are in a hazardous weather warning due to the warm temperatures. We're expecting highs of 98. If you are outside working, it's probably going to get a little bit warmer than that. I'm saying triple digits, but this heat advisory is going to be in effect for tonight. By this evening, we are expecting partly cloudy skies, only a low of 63. Tomorrow, partly sunny skies, but we are expecting some afternoon rain showers, possibly some thunderstorms, maybe producing lightning strikes as well, so hopefully no wildfires are started. We are expecting a high of 94 with an overnight low of 63. By the time we hit Wednesday, mostly sunny skies and cooling off to 87. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
All right, Gina, thank you. She always does a phenomenal job. Appreciate it. And brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Heyburn. You got questions about the tools and equipment you need? Call Roger and the folks today at 678-3122. Located on the Burley-Paul Highway, K&R Rental. Want to also say a great big shout out to our friends over to Daryl's Cleaners. And yes, I've got a great big bag of Rumply Crumplies to take in there at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. And you know, when you take your clothes in there to be dry cleaned, whether it's your Wranglers or your sports shirts, the ladies' dresses, whatever, it's going to come back to you looking brand spanking new. And for those of you that don't have time to do your clothes washing, don't forget, they will wash, dry, fold, and iron all your clothes. All you have to do is just take them on in and talk to them at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Absolutely the best. I'm going to be going into a little dissertation of something that took place this last week, and I'm not going to weaken on this. I said in the opening remarks that I have always had this program as an open forum, if you will, to discuss many, many issues that affect folks here in Magic Valley, or the state, or our nation. I make no excuses about the way it's presented, and I always present it in a fair and honest opinion on my side on the issues, and leave the door open for anybody and everybody to call and express their viewpoints. And I am absolutely livid the way I was treated by Idaho Power in a conversation that took place this last Friday morning. And I'm going to talk to you about that in just a moment. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Yes, sirree, they open the doors at 7:30 in the morning till 5, Monday through Friday. For all your heating, cooling the key word right now, and electrical needs, they've got everything for you. And believe me, including all the air conditioning filters. All you gotta do is just stop by, and they'll have it ready for you on the counter. Call them 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Hey, this week, caller, I'll be right there. This week is Lunch Bunch Week at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Don't forget, we're all going to be over there on Thursday morning, and we're going to have a lot of door prizes and everything else, and you can order the most delicious, whether you want breakfast, lunch, dinner, anytime, all the time, all the desserts. Oh, my, great people serving you at America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant. We also want to thank Walmart, Smith's Foods, Handsome Mortuary, Stokes Groceries, Doug Martin, and Denny's for all their help at Zeb's Lunch Bunch this Thursday at Denny's Restaurant. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, I guess I am a racist, according to the Democratic Party.
Keith, can I stop you right there? I'm going to stop you right there, and you're a dear friend, but I'm not going to change subjects that I started with this morning. I am going to stay right with my conversation about Idaho Power for this first segment this morning, and how they treated me and why they treated me in such a fashion as to inviting them on this program to discuss their concepts of going completely green by 2045. And that's what I'm going to stick with in this first hour.
And I'm looking forward to it.
Well, what do you have any thoughts on that issue or not?
Well, of course I do. I think that they're way off the rail. Way off the rail, because, you know, we cannot depend on these other energies that they're talking about, like wind. My goodness. You get to see those windmills every day, so, you know, that's an everyday occurrence for you.
No, wait a minute. It's an everyday obnoxious occurrence. I don't like to see them. I think they're aesthetically just absolutely down at the bottom of the basement for value. I don't like it. I don't like this concept of going green. But here's what happened, Keith, so that you know, and I have everything verified. I went through the proper channels to try to invite someone on my program from Idaho Power to talk about their proposed goal of 100% clean energy by 2045. And you know what they told me? And you see if this wouldn't upset you. Oh, no, Zeb Bell, you're too political.
that's just disgraceful. But that proves the point that I started to talk about. Supposedly you're racist against green energy, right?
No, don't even use that word. Keith, you're a dear friend, but don't even use that connotation. Racist is thrown around too much today, and I will not allow it because I don't believe in it. Evidently, they don't like me because I'm going to ask questions. I've got a lot of questions I want to ask. And they're acting as a bully, saying, no, we're not coming on your program. And when asked again by another individual, they said no because I'm too political. Well, this is a political program. We talk about issues. Do you mean to tell me that Idaho Power is at an elevation, Keith, to where they can't be asked? They are a public utility company.
You bet they are. And it is not right. You know, in the wintertime, how many days do we go without real sunshine or without wind? It's something we cannot depend on, so we need to use the resources that are put in front of us.
Absolutely.
Like the wonderful Snake River.
Absolutely. That, plus we also have...
Another power dam. They could put in another power dam just below American Falls that would generate a lot of electricity. It might harm the fish, but it would...
No. I'm not even going to say there would be any derogatory damage to the fish. I'm not going to go there. I really appreciate your bending with me a little bit on this morning. I'm going to stay on one issue. Keith, I've got another call waiting, but I do thank you for breaking the ice this morning. Thank you.
Well, you just give them heck, okay?
I will, buddy. Thank you. Caller, I'll be right there, I promise. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. I've got to go over tomorrow afternoon, as a matter of fact. And believe me, they can and they will help you with all the exercises to help you get back to being you. I urge you to call, make an appointment, 678-1191, 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, with Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists working there for you and your health and your benefit. Please make an appointment today, 678-1191, the best. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Thank you.
Boy, Zeb, you hit my hot button this morning. You know, I've written 3 letters to Darrell Anderson at P.O. Box 70 in Boise, 83707 for Idaho. He's the CEO for Idaho Power. I've also sent 2 letters to the Idaho Power consumer information that's available, pointing out to them that there's no way they're going to get green energy unless they would go to nuclear power.
All right, now let me have a give and take with you here, Adrian. Let me have a give and take with you here, and don't ramble. Let me get in here. I appreciate everything you have done to try to ask questions of Idaho Power. I personally went through the proper channels and asked very politely for a meeting on my program to discuss various issues about the whys and the hows of going by 2045 100% totally green. And to come back and tell me that I'm evidently not worthy to ask questions. I'm a ratepayer. I pay my bill every month, but I'm also the owner of a talk show, and they said, well, you're too political. Would you explain to me, and don't ramble, explain to me how it's too political to ask questions of an entity that owes answers to the paying public?
Well, yeah, they don't want to accept the fact that there's alternative view. They bought onto this thing. You know, the science is settled. The national news media, including our local paper here, and the Idaho paper, the Boise paper, Pocatello paper, you cannot put anything in their commentary as far as letters. If the science is settled, so they have bought onto this. They probably have a bunch of young kids that have been graduated with this. And so I'm just saying we need to put the pressure on them. That's the reason I gave out that P.O. Box 70 in Boise, 83707. Darrell Anderson is the guy, S-O-N on the end. And I can guarantee you, he needs to hear from all of us and say, look, this is the most ridiculous, asinine to blame CO2 for the demise of the planet.
Absolutely.
We need it to grow our crops and to breathe.
Absolutely. Now, they have over 560,000 customers with Idaho Power. I am one of them. You are one of them. And we have every right to ask questions as to what's being done that we pay for. Adrian, I got another call waiting. I am so glad to hear you called.
Just one, like I said, I've asked Mr. Anderson, I wanted to reply. I've asked him, the last 2 letters went out fairly recently. The other one was much earlier, and I furnished him a lot of information. But people, we need to be in his face. And on your bill, there's also an address there for consumer information. So look at your last bill, if you have and you can find that address. And we need to just be on them. And I haven't been able to get a web, sir. I'm going to try and get a phone number and see if I can get an audience with him myself.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your call this morning. Let me know what you find out. Thank you very much. Caller number 2, I'll be right there. Don't go away. I appreciate it. Thank you. And I'll be right with you, caller number 2. Stand by. Ark Animal Hospital, Dr. Bill. I had a nice visit with Dr. Bill the other day. He and I share the same trepidations for certain items that creep along on the ground. Anyway, Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street, near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. They absolutely want to take care of your animals, and you should too. That's what you got them for. Whether you got a little bitty kitty cat or a whole herd of dairy cattle, they want them healthy. And I'll tell you what, they will work any way, shape, or form to make sure that they serve you and your livestock. Call them, 678-1177. That number again, 678-1177. Ark Animal Hospital in Heyburn. It's true. They do have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Well, good morning, Zeb. Hey, the deal with Idaho Power, there's several things here, in my opinion here. But when we bought our house, we purposely looked for a power company service that was not Idaho Power. That was our number one thing. They're overpriced compared to everybody else in the area. Yeah, they say, well, we got to keep up equipment and this, that, and the other. Well, you know what? They're overpriced. The other thing was their customer service is terrible. And then going back to what you're talking about this morning, the whole deal with going green. They don't I know they know better, but they're getting subsidies from the federal government to run these windmills that can't even never, ever will pay for themselves. They're getting subsidies to try and go totally green in the future. So they don't really care about their consumers because they know they have a monopoly on them. They don't care one way or the other if you have power at Zeb Bell's house or anywhere else. They really don't care. They're getting their money.
Well, and you're...
What's frustrating the crap out of me is we can't choose who we get our services from.
Yeah.
We're kind of stuck. It doesn't matter how much you call and bug them. They don't care, and I'll let you go.
I appreciate it, Riley. I really do, because you sound a lot of the subject matter that needs to be said on the air this morning. They're shutting down existing efficient coal-fired plants in Wyoming and also Nevada, and there's another one, too, they're thinking of closing down. And I wanted to ask about the cost to the ratepayers. What's this going to cost the ratepayers? I wanted to find out about the reliability of not so reliable green energy. I have a list of questions I want to ask Idaho Power, but I was told no, they will not come on my program. That's not public service. That's not good communications. That's nothing more than just hiding behind a closed door. Riley, I appreciate your call. Thank you so much. Caller number 2, I'll be right there. Stand by. I've got to tell everybody about the 71st annual Minidoka County Fair, making tracks to the Minidoka County Fair. Absolutely. July 29th through August 3rd, they are going to have a ripping good time. The 29th, they kick things off with the lawnmower races, and then they've got gymkhanas, and they've got all kinds of music. They've got great food on, July 31st, they're going to have that big Lions barbecue. Woo! And then look out, junior rodeos, and on, of course, the 2nd and 3rd, the great big Wild West Open Rodeo. Man, you talk about good fun. It's there at the 71st Annual Minidoka County Fair. Don't miss it. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. We're We're living in dangerous times. What do you think going green is going to do for our defense industry? How are we going to build all this military equipment to protect ourselves, our families, and our allies?
Well, they can't because it's non-dependable. You know, this green movement, I said a long time on this program, Tony, and Wheels, we got a little feedback there. I said a long time ago on this program that little by little, inch by inch, step by step, the stupidity of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Green New Deal was going to be implemented in our society, and it's been picked up by many, many major entities, including our own Idaho Power.
Well, we have a big problem with Cortez and her fellow travelers. And whatever she's talking is catching on to this younger generation here. And they're falling into line with her line of thinking.
I agree, but we've got to stand up. In my particular case, I'm heartily offended by Idaho Power. They used to run advertising on this program, and one of their representatives used to come on this program on a semi-regular basis and talk about various things with Idaho Power, and I gave him complete forum on my program. All of a sudden, because I want to question the validity and the sensibility of going green, I am all of a sudden persona non grata. Tony, I'm going to fight him on this.
Well, who's in charge? Or who is above Idaho Power? Is there somebody in Washington, D.C.?
Well, how about our own PUC?
Idaho Power?
How about our own PUC, of which you're going to hear more about in the next couple of days? Tony, God bless you, and Mary, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
All right, buddy. Caller number 2, I'll be right there. Don't forget our friends over at Rain for Rent. Hello, Jake and the crew. My goodness, they are busy. It's a busy time of the year to make sure everybody's got their irrigation needs and they're running to peak efficiency. Well, Rain for Rent is a Reinke Diamond dealer, and they do have the most dedicated sales and service staff to help and serve you. Help and serve. Those are good words to describe Rain for Rent. They're located at 134 South, 600 West of Paul. Number to call Jake and the crew, 438-5065. I'll repeat that, 438-5065. Rain for Rent. You be sure and get a hold of them today and have a great irrigation system season with Rain for Rent. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, Zeb, a couple quick points. I got a call Friday, and it's about this, that I was going to call you this morning, and I thought I didn't want to interrupt you, but I'll call you afterwards. But apparently, that is reacting to, what happened. So I was, I think they're feeling the pressure. And
talk right into your mic. Oh, Randy, wait a minute. God bless you, man, but do not move your phone. Hold it up to your mouth and don't move, please.
Sorry, Zeb. But I'll call you afterwards about this and something else. That I had a tragedy happen in my family because of environmentalism. It is the most unbelievable thing you'll ever hear. And I ain't going to get into it right now. I'll get into it with you later. And then, we'll go from there.
Randy, I want to say this on behalf of Deanne and I and many others that know the circumstances you're talking about. I hope you realize and know that our family is praying for you and your family, and thank you very much.
Well, this environmentalism is insane. It's creeping into, it's in Idaho. It's all over. And the federal agencies are they're stricken with cancer with it, and Idaho is becoming the influence of the environmentalists, is in our state house.
I agree.
And I tell you what, it's in Boise, and we don't know. This has got to be stopped.
Randy, I'll look forward to your call later on today. Thank you so much. Thank you. I want to just say that I'm going to stay with this subject matter on Idaho Power, and I have all the chapter and verse. And one thing I do, and I will remain doing on any subject on this program, is complete documentation of everything that I say, do, or whom I call, or what I do to react to certain situations. It's all documented. Idaho Power had no business, none, to refuse airtime coming on my program to discuss these issues. It's amateur, it's unprofessional, and absolutely cowardly. Caller quickly, and then I've got to do my cookie giveaway. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Zeb. What is not clean about hydroelectric power when it's done correctly so that no animals or no fish are hurt?
Nothing.
That's what I thought.
Well, and the other point that needs to be made here is the coal-fired generating plants have been redevised and re-implemented and scientifically looked at with the clean air attitudes and all the different mechanics involved and everything. They are not wrong either. I'm sick and tired of running away from a product, coal, that God gave us an abundant supply that could go on for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, and we can't use it because of stupidity with power companies and the environmental movement.
Yeah, I don't know. My dad worked for the Bureau of Reclamation and had in the accounting department and various others, and knew about these power dams that were going in across Idaho when so many of them were being put in the 50s, late 40s and 50s, 60s. And it seems to me as though it's not a bad situation.
No.
Besides which, aren't we seeing the windmills standing still more now than we used to?
It's funny you should say that, Linda. My wife was commenting on that the other day as we were headed back from Pocatello, and she said the same thing. Linda, I'm running a little bit late on my cookie giveaway. God bless you for your call. We'll see you Thursday at Lunch Bunch. God bless. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. I'm going to give away some cookies real quick. While I still have cookies to give away, maybe Idaho Power might turn the power off or whatever. Our cookies being sponsored by Sophie's Chatterbox at 530 East Street in Rupert, right on the square, with absolutely a phenomenal bakery and a great, great restaurant. Oh, my goodness, all the cookies and the pies and the cakes and the wedding cakes and everything. Delicious. Here's the question for today. It's an easy one to win a dozen cookies. First one with the right answer is going to win. Who was the rock and roll singer that tried, underline that word tried, acting in the John Wayne movie Rio, I'm trying to think of the last name of the movie all of a sudden, it left me. Rio Bravo. Rio Bravo. Who was the rock and roll singer that tried acting in the Western with John Wayne, Rio Bravo? The first person to call with the right answer is going to win a dozen cookies to Sophie's Chatterbox at 530 East Street in Rupert. Give me a call quickly, 436-2244, and let's see what this caller has to say. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
That's got to be Ozzie and Harriet's son, Ricky Nelson.
Who is this?
This is Jack.
Jack, that doesn't tell me anything. Jack who?
Alexander.
Jack, I'll tell you what, you better call over to our friends at Sophie's and tell them that you're going to be there to pick up your cookies, and they would love to help you, okay? You're the winner.
Thanks a lot.
All right, so Ricky Nelson is the answer. And by the way, I got to just mention that going through our family tree, I found out that my mom was actually a cousin to Ozzie Nelson. And I guess that makes Ricky and David and the whole shebang, 97th removed distant cousins or something like that to me. But anyway, the answer was Ricky Nelson. He was the rock and roll singer that played the part of Colorado on the movie Rio Bravo with John Wayne. I'm glad he didn't pursue more Western movies. Anyway, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Barry Equipment and Rental Sales Service and Parts, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and the Nampa location. When it comes to equipment that you need to handle all the tough jobs, whether it's lifting, digging, pushing, and carrying, hey, I'm telling you, they got all the equipment. The Doosan, wheel loaders and excavators, all the Bobcats. I mean, if you need grading and leveling and everything done, they've got the equipment for you. At Barry Equipment and Rental Sales Service and Parts, Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa, you get a hold of them today. Really, really good folks. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to weaken on this with Idaho Power. It hurt me to think that an entity like Idaho Power that has been on my program before, they have asked to be on my program before, and all of a sudden, because I want a question about green energy, no, I'm persona non grata. I want to ask questions about the reliability of green energy. I want to talk about the land used and abused aesthetically for the wind turbines and all the solar panels, etc. I want to ask a lot of questions for you and for me, the ratepayers that pay the bills. And isn't it just a little too clandestine and a little bit too smug and arrogant to have the person say, no, you little man talking to me, we're not coming on your program. You're too political? They can't answer questions about what's happening, what they're doing, and how it's going to affect you and your family and your pocketbook, and it will. That's obscene. That's obscene. Calls, welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. It should upset you. It should really upset you. Because of over 560,000 people that are customers of Idaho Power, we all have the right to have questions answered. If they say that they can provide green energy at a quote-unquote fair price, I want to know, as a ratepayer, what do they consider a fair price? How much will energy costs escalate at their fair price? What's the reliability factor? There's all kinds of things I want to ask. But I will not get the answers, evidently, on my program because their attitude of arrogance is they won't show up. That's despicable. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I guess over 20 years of putting this program on, I've left the door open for a lot of people to be involved. And even if I didn't agree with the subject matter or some of their responses, they had the right to come on the program and we could arbitrate. But for a major public utilities company to just basically take their thumb and their forefinger and flick us away like a bug on a pair of pants, that's really offensive. And that's what Idaho Power did. Don't forget, Greystone Crossing is just a great big home where the residents feel a part of a family unit. Caller, I'll be right there. 12-bedroom home, Greystone Crossing, independent senior living on Alfresco Road. That's 21st Street, just a mile east of Walmart. A beautiful, beautiful location. 3 meals a day, plus snacks and housekeeping and local transportation provided to get you to the doctor or wherever you need to go. Great great people living there. It's just great to spend the days visiting with your friends. That's what it's all about at Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living. Call Kelly and Matt today at 650-4979. I'll repeat, 650-4979. They'd be happy to set up an appointment to show you around the beautiful Greystone Crossing. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Zeb, Earl, my thinking on this is with Idaho Power, I don't think the left hand knows what the right hand's doing, because we went through that Swan Falls lawsuit and the adjudication process, and the crowbar that threw into industry in this state alone, and now what they're doing, it just don't add up.
Well, how would you feel sitting in this desk when you call people and on their cell phones and also at their office locations, and they just shine you on? They will not call. They will not return their calls. And then when one of their ilk does call, he says, no, we're not coming on your program to answer any questions. I tell you what, Earl, they deserve to answer our questions. We're paying the bill.
Well, they're guilty as said, and Zeb, you're one of the most articulate persons that I know. And I don't know a lot of people, but I put you at the top on the way you handle things on your show, and even off the show.
Well, I certainly appreciate that, but I told my wife after I hung up the phone that that's the first time in 20 years of doing this program that I was ever really snubbed to the point where a major entity treated me like I was a bug on a rug, and I don't like that at all, Earl.
Well, I'd say they're guilty as said, Zeb. There's something more up their sleeve than this. They're stacking the deck.
Well, it would just seem that if you're going to make major changes that could and will affect the future of power in our state and, for that matter, the Northwest, you would think that you'd want to be very forthright and honest about any and all entities that you're going to either close or recreate or try to enhance. And when you don't answer questions, I have every right to think that maybe there's something illicit that they're into.
Well, that's my feelings, Zeb. I think I brought that up. But considering what this state has been through, and I'll repeat myself again, with the Swan Falls lawsuit and the adjudication process that went on, there's more to this story that's being let out.
And I agree with you, and I tell you what, that's one reason why, after conferring, and I want you to know this too, and the audience to know this, I conferred with people that I absolutely trust and people that I absolutely respect. I talked to many of our political people that are in our legislative sessions. I talked to them for their advice. I talked to them for also their thoughts on this issue, and they, like me, were appalled that Idaho Power would not come forth and answer any questions.
And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Idaho Power is a possibly an Eastern-owned firm of some sort.
Well, as far as the ownership is concerned and the controlling interests, et cetera, I'm going to try to get the complete evaluation. As a matter of fact, we're working on that today to get everything and anything about Idaho Power, the people in charge, the different offices that are in charge of this, that, and the other. But to snub a talk show that wants to ask questions about their, I think, bad move towards green energy, I think we have every right as ratepayers to find out the answers, but they refused. Earl, God bless you up on the Hill. Thank you so much.
Zeb, can I say one more thing?
Yes, sir.
Idaho Power was very well respected when it was under Jim Bruce's management. And then when Jim Bruce stepped down and I don't know who took over, something in that that company did change drastically. So.
Well, we're not going to back any water to them because they're a great big corporation, and according to them, I'm just a worthless little bug. But this worthless little bug is going to keep antagonizing them. Earl, thank you very much.
You too.
God bless you. Thank you. Caller number 2, please have the patience to stay with me just a moment. I got to get the weather forecast on. I'll be right there. You're the next call, I promise. Don't forget Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. They are located right behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room, and I urge you to give them a call if you're noticing any diminishment in your hearing whatsoever. Call them for an appointment, 312-0957. I'll repeat that, 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And believe me, every person is treated personally, absolutely, with the treatment plans that can help you. Call them today, 312-0957. Here now, Gina with the weather.
It is going to be a warm one today. Here's a look at your weather forecast, and we are in a hazardous weather warning due to the warm temperatures. We're expecting highs of 98. If you are outside working, it's probably going to get a little bit warmer than that. I'm saying triple digits, but this heat advisory is going to be in effect for tonight. By this evening, we are expecting partly cloudy skies, only a low of 63. Tomorrow, partly sunny skies, but we are expecting some afternoon rain showers, possibly some thunderstorms, maybe producing lightning strikes as well, so hopefully no wildfires are started. We are expecting a high of 94 with an overnight low of 63. By the time we hit Wednesday, mostly sunny skies and cooling off to 87. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zebra Grant.
Thank you, Gina. I'm brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And again, they are ready to serve you and your hearing health. Call them for an appointment, 312-0957. Caller, you've been very patient. Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Hello, Zeb. Me again. I am thinking that perhaps we could perhaps transform the word political into the word dangerous and smart. You're too dangerous and smart for them.
Linda, I appreciate the compliment, but I'm going to say this, that a company that serves over 560,000 customers, they deserve and they should honor their customers to the point where anything is transparent. Everything is transparent. And when you start saying to one entity like myself or anyone, no, we're not going to come on your program to answer questions, that tells me that maybe there's something they don't want the general public to know. Maybe there's something about green energy that they can't answer because they don't know.
Yep. I'm thinking so. They wouldn't come out looking too good, maybe.
Well, I'm just going to hope that they have a change in attitude, Linda. I'm really hoping and praying they have a change of attitude and they come on this program. But I will tell you this, Linda. Over the weekend, I called some of their representatives numerous times and left word on their voicemails to call me. Linda, nothing this morning except crickets. I haven't heard a word.
Yeah, I'm thinking they're not, like you say, they're not transparent, and it's a real concern. I am so pleased I'm not one of their customers.
Okay. Linda, God bless you for your call. You're always welcome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Sweet, sweet lady with a beautiful voice right there. She can sing the national anthem better than anyone. What a job. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What are your thoughts on that? When you call somebody and they won't give you any answers and they say, well, we're not going to talk to you, but yet I expect that I'll be getting my bill for Idaho Power's usage in the next couple of days. I expect when I open the envelope, there will be a whole bunch of other paraphernalia papers in there explaining how great Idaho Power is, how wonderful they are, and how service-oriented they will be now and into the future. But they won't answer any questions. Why? Green energy in its purest form is not reliable. I mean, that's the bottom line. And the cost factor, the transition costs, the ratepayers need to know about what's going to happen, what the projections are, and everything else. These things need to be out in front of the public. Those are the questions that I want to have answered. But they ran and they hid behind a closed door. Idaho Power said they would not come on this program. I can't describe their action any more than saying they're cowards. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. It's going to be interesting if I hear from anybody today with Idaho Power. Probably after I'm off the air, I'm sure. Don't forget our friends, and they are our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with all the best of tires for your safe driving. And they also acknowledge that you can stop by for a free pre-trip safety check. They'll check your air pressure in your tires. They'll check the wheel alignment and check for the tire wear, front-end components, shocks and struts. They'll give your battery a load test and also brake components. All of this and so much more. Service reigns supreme at all 7 locations. And all the best of tires. I mean, my goodness sakes, when you talk tires, you're talking your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and some of which right now when you buy a set of 4, like the Backcountry MT, the Backcountry AT, and the Road Control tire, you get an instant rebate. Check it out. Stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland in Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Got time for some more calls. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. In their own press releases, they say, Idaho Power is among the first publicly owned energy companies to set a goal for reaching 100% clean energy. But they won't answer questions as to what it's going to cost us or the positives and negatives. Nothing. They just won't answer the questions. And they had said that, quote, this is from Darrell Anderson, the Idaho Power president and CEO, providing 100% clean energy is an important goal for Idaho Power. More and more customers are telling us it is important to them, too. Oh, really? We believe this goal is attainable. We have a great head start thanks to our clean hydropower plants that produce almost half the energy our customers use. Our recently signed agreement with Jackpot Holdings moves us even closer. Well, great. Come on the program, talk about it, and answer questions that I, as a ratepayer, and others want to know. Don't hide. Come on the program. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Now, I want to tell you that I'm not going to let this issue go. We're going to be like a dog with a bone here for quite some time until I get some answers. And it might not be every day, but it's going to be on occasional segments this week and going into next, because I think that Idaho Power needs to have their feet held to the fire closely, and they need to answer questions and not shine me or anyone else on. You have a right to know. I have a right to know. Caller, quickly, you're on the air. I got a minute and a half left. Thank you.
Good morning, Zeb. I lived in Kennewick, Washington, and one of my best friends was an electrician on Ice Harbor Dam, and he took me through all the dams on the Snake River and the Columbia River. And then about the time I moved back to Idaho, they started putting in the wind mills up there on just south of Kennewick, and I mean hundreds of them. And the cost of that wind energy was like 14 cents per kilowatt hour, and the cost that they were getting, the Bonneville dams were providing, was 3 to 4 cents
per
kilowatt hour.
Wow.
And I don't know why they won't talk to you or why they won't answer questions, but it's a real problem.
You know, I appreciate your call. I just wished I had more time to talk to you right now, my dear, dear friend. I know who this is, and it's such a great thing to hear from you. But this is something I'm not going to let go of, Jack, because they deserve to give answers to the public, and I'm one of the public, and you are too. And to run and hide, that's cowardice, no matter how you slice the cake.
I agree.
God bless you, and I'll talk to you after the program. I want to ask you something else. Thank you so much for your call. Thank you. A dear friend right there. I've got to run to the news right now from CBS, and we'll be back in about 7 minutes. Wheels, it's all yours. Thank you. Oh, good morning, and welcome back. Hour number 2, Zeb at the Ranch. On a Monday, July 22nd. My goodness, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires for your safe driving. And, of course, don't forget some of our great advertisers, including Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, this good word for Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, every free land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Always at your disposal. That's it right there in a nutshell. They are ready and willing to get you on the route service so that every week they can come by, pick up your garbage. It's gone. It's out of there. Give them a call today, please. These are wonderful people serving you. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call the number 734-6969, Western Waste Services. Want to remind you, too, oh my goodness, they're having their great big tent event. What am I talking about? The giant indoor tent event at, of course, our friends at Redder's Showcase, 2611 Overland in Burley. Woo-hoo! Save money. I mean, listen to this. Dishwashers starting at $329, washing machines starting at $419, air conditioners, better have one this week, starting at $169. Don't forget, up to 12 months, same as cash on approved credit. Where? At Redder's Showcase, 2611 Overland in Burley, for their great big tent event. You stop in and see them today. Real quick, before we go to our guest, I also want to acknowledge our dear friends, and they are really community-oriented and helping you and your family. That's Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with our dear friend Joel Heward, family and staff, serving you and your family in a time of real need. When there's the passing of a loved one, they are there to serve you with the best possible support and comfort. And also realize, always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Number to call, 436-5636. And don't forget, too, Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Well, last Monday, we were preempted because our dear friend, he was at the White House. That's right. He was at the White House, and he's going to tell us all about the event. He was representative of the Americans for Limited Government. Rick Manning, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Well, not bad. Summertime. I enjoy the warm temperatures. I enjoy everything about summer. And I understand that you were at an event last week. Kind of makes me jealous because there were a lot of good things going on at the White House. Tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. I had the opportunity to go to the Made in America event at the White House, where they had different manufacturers from every state, everything from Patriot missiles to barbecues. So there were manufacturers from every state who were there and displaying their wares. And the objective was to make the point that we are trying to rebuild the American manufacturing base. And it was a really good event. And it was, from my perspective, I got to talk to a lot of the vendors about different things that are going on in their states, but more significantly than that, and some of them I learned a lot from. But then, being in D.C., I also got to talk to multiple cabinet secretaries and other people who were there also, and have policy conversations with them. So, all in all, it was a really, really good event. It was nice. It was really hot, and it was near 100 degrees with D.C. swamp humidity. So it was a very, very warm event, but it was also a very productive event, and the vice president was there wandering around talking to various people, and the president gave a speech, so it was really cool.
Let me ask you this, Rick, and I don't mean to pin you down with this kind of a question, but Made in America, how and why did we get away from that?
Because we had a policy for 50 years after World War II that essentially said we were going to export our wealth around the world, and it was good reason. During the Cold War, we wanted to bolster economies that try to have them be Western looking, capitalist looking, as opposed to communist. And so what we did is we helped bolster their economies by exporting a lot of manufacturing and the like from the United States to those countries. After that, we essentially set up the multinational network in terms of corporate, kind of the way corporations work. And the multinationals then became dependent upon the idea that they were going to produce stuff overseas, they were going to sell it here at a cheap cost, and the outsourcing of American jobs became part of the business model. And until China started exploiting it so dramatically after 2000, and really turned it into themselves into a mercantilist power, a lot like the British Empire back in the day, in the 1800s, 1700s. They really used that model, and by our basic willingness and to our corporations' willingness to sell their means of production to the Chinese, who then stole it and reproduced it, and then produced stuff for cheaper than the multinationals could. That kind of brought us to where we are, and now we're trying to fix it. And it's not easy. It's a hard fix but Donald Trump is fixing it based on reports just this last week. Stuff that I've said on this air for months is now, even the Wall Street Journal is reporting that American companies are moving their supply chains out of China because of the tariffs on China, and they're moving them to places like India and Vietnam. They're not moving them to the United States. They're even moving them to Central America, which is where I'd prefer they move them to. But they're moving their supply chains out of China. And so we're creating an environment where the Chinese are going to control the supply chains of all the goods that flow to the United States, which really damages the Chinese economy, not just short term, but long term, because they won't have the things being manufactured. They'll have to compete with Vietnam, India, hopefully Central American countries to produce the tchotchkes and other goods that are cheap factory goods that get imported to America. So that to me is a huge deal. The Wall Street Journal finally woken up to the fact that it's occurring, and it's directly a result of Trump's trade policy and his tariffs. So that is a huge positive for us in terms of, if not returning jobs here, strengthening the Chinese ability to cut off goods from the United States.
You know, I should tell the audience that I called Rick prior to the program this morning, and we had a very interesting and very informative conversation in regards to the opportunities. Let's just use that word, opportunities, for our education system to turn loose a bevy of students that could go into the workforce and really make America bigger and better than it's ever been. I think you'd agree with that. Is that right?
Absolutely. It's and it's actually, it was stemmed from one of the conversations I had there. As a company from Kentucky, I won't say the name of the company, but they were a machining company. They machined precision machining for parts for the auto industry and others, and they were showing some of the parts that they were machining, and basically it's metal with stuff carved out. So there was no top secrets there. It was just some interesting metal work. And I asked them a simple question. I said, "What's your biggest problem?" And they said, "Getting skilled labor to be able to do the machine work." We have lots of ability to write contracts, but getting the people to be able to do the labor is our biggest problem. And they're sitting there as a suburb of, I guess they're Georgetown, Kentucky is where they're based. So I said they were national in our earliest conversation, but no, they're in Georgetown, Kentucky. And so they have the clients. They have a major car manufacturer who's based in Georgetown. But what they don't have is skilled labor, and that is and I asked them, well, what do we do about that? And they said, what we really need, Rick, is we really need metal shop, wood shop, auto shop return to our schools. We need to put an emphasis on those shop classes at the middle school and high school level, because once they graduate from high school, they come out and they say, gee whiz, we're unskilled labor, hire us. And we don't have unskilled labor jobs. There's only so many floors that need to be swept, only so many forklifts that need to be driven. What we need people who can run the machines. And if you don't have the basic skills in metal working with metal or working with your hands, it's really hard to train you from you're just so far down the scale that it's just so expensive to train you. And so that's a real problem that exists, and it solves one of the place where you have a labor where, even though unemployment is very, very low, the people who have the higher unemployment rate are people who are high school educated or below. Okay, so high school graduates and below are the ones who have the makes sense, have the highest unemployment rate. Well, if you're training people on metalwork, auto shop, and wood shop, many of those kids are going to say, you know what? I'm going to take my auto shop, and I'm going to take my wood shop, I'm going to take my metal shop, and I'm going to go and I'm going to get a job coming out of college. So you're able to then train those people because they're used to working with the basic machinery. That's what we should be doing in our high schools and junior high schools, because not everybody is suited to go to college, and not everybody should go to college. Some people can make a great living being a plumber, doing lots of other things. It doesn't mean they're dumb, doesn't mean anything other than the fact that they have a different set of skills, that God bless them with a different set of skills, and we don't lift up those skill sets. We tell them that those skill sets aren't valuable, when in fact they are the most valuable skill sets we have in America. They're the skill sets we need right now in America.
Absolutely. I do not understand why more people, and I thank you very much for talking about this morning. Mike Rowe is another gentleman that's been committed to really informing the American public that we need the electricians, we need the plumbers, we need the people with the construction arts, etc. We are creating a pathway to success, but not everybody's going to find that success by spending hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to get a college education, and there's so many opportunities available right now.
No, absolutely true. In fact, Richard McCarty in my office wrote a 2-part series on education that published last week, and it's on dailytorch.com. And in that series, we really look at higher education, the cost of higher education. there are a couple of things that we came up with. Number one, on higher education, there needs to be transparency. Colleges need to say, if you're going to go into the School of Social Work and get a degree in School of Social Work, this is how much money you can expect to make based upon the money that recent graduates are making with those degrees. And so you can make a determination, is it worth getting $50,000 in debt to get a job that's going to pay you $35,000 a year? Is that make any sense whatsoever? And so having the basic transparency so people can make a decision about the debt load is one thing. Secondly, if colleges are participating in putting people into debt, then colleges have a responsibility. If people are actually not able to pay their debt, maybe the colleges should be held accountable and and if they have non-producing degrees, have to reimburse the government for the debt failure. Thirdly, we believe that students should be able to discharge their debt through debt bankruptcy, and in that way, it isn't just a kid gets into debt because they didn't know any better. The next thing you know, they're stuck with the next 15 years of their life enslaved to a college debt for a degree they're not using. And lastly, the federal government takeover of the student debt system is a disaster. It needs to be privatized, and it needs to be privatized yesterday. And that way, the risk premiums need to be built in to the debt. And you can have government guaranteed student loans the way they used to, but it's not a full guarantee. And the risk premium needs to be put on the college, and that way colleges will not be selling degrees that are worth $10 for $35 and continually raise their tuition. Tuition costs for the last year have gone up double what the inflation rate is, and there's absolutely no excuse for it. They're not producing the products that are needed, and quite honestly, some colleges that are they're just scamming people need to go away.
Rick, how do we, in your opinion, implement the moving of the pendulum more and more and more every day into the trades, into the schools for the trades, etc.? How do we keep the pendulum moving so that people are aware and cognizant of the opportunities?
Well, I would say if I were a local school district in a rural area or a suburban area, here's what I would want. I would reinstate all the programs that are, and really put emphasis on programs like auto shop and metal shop and wood shop, because if you're turning out workers, people who are capable and have an interest in doing work with your hands, and this includes ag classes, this includes the whole panoply of different work with your hands kind of classes. If you're turning out people who are more skilled, it gives your Chamber of Commerce a chance to sell something. We have a system in place where our high schools are producing people who can be your machinists. And so if you're a machine shop, where are you going to locate? You're going to locate in that town because the system's in place for people who work with their hands. It doesn't mean you do it to the exclusion of academic programs. You do it in addition to academic programs. So that seems to me if encouraging your local level, your state level politicians to put a point of emphasis on these. If a state like Idaho put a point of emphasis on this, what would end up happening is manufacturing would come to Idaho because you have the skilled labor that they're looking for.
That's right. That's right. We have a caller with a question. Caller, I'm down to the last 4 minutes. Please, go ahead.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
A good program, good speaker, and I'm wondering what he feels, how what he's talking about and what he's professing is compatible with our Common Core curriculum here in our schools. And I'll hang up for that.
Rick, go ahead, please.
No. Very simply, because Common Core doesn't teach you how to do math. It doesn't teach you how to do any of the basic skills that you need to be able to figure out how to cut a board. Common Core is a construct that I think is proven to fail. Our test scores are going down dramatically across the nation because of Common Core, and it needs to be scrapped in its entirety. If I had my druthers, we take a look at the curriculum from 1960, 1950, and we would go back to that curriculum and add in the IT components that you need to, and essentially teach kids in kindergarten through sixth grade, the basic fundamentals, so they actually knew how to write with grammar, and they actually knew how to do math in their head, and they could figure out how to do those things. So you had a solid base, and if you give people a solid education base in their primary education, they will then move on and be better students as they get older. And lastly, I would return to having memorization being part of it, because memorization of things like the Declaration of Independence, the Gettysburg Address, and like which we discussed before, memorization of basic facts, having them in your head, embedded in your head, is important in terms of being able to have a foundation on which to live on moving forward in the future. And I think when we allowed the 60s educators to kill memorization, we changed our way we think and our ability to use our minds and critically think, because we destroyed the underlying basis for critical thinking, because people didn't have an underlying basis. So we've got to reestablish a few things, and I think they're easily reestablished. Education Association won't like it, but tough.
Absolutely.
Our kids so they be successful citizens in the future, not to be little robots for the far left.
Absolutely. One quick point here, Rick. You don't hear any of the presidential nominee hopefuls or anybody from politics really standing up and beating the drum for the trade schools, beating the drum for the job enhancement that can come out of those trade schools. And I would think that would be an excellent political point. Instead of saying, well, you've run up $150,000 in student debt and we're going to forgive it, why not say, hey, go to school, be a success, and you won't have that debt?
Well, the left wants everybody in college, because college is an indoctrination center. And if you try to change that, the education hierarchy will rise up and say you can't appoint somebody to the head of the University of South Carolina chancellor system or University of South Carolina who's not within their education establishment. And as a result, it's very, very difficult to break the chain that the left is putting into place. They control the university system completely and utterly, and we have to take that down. But that's a big fight. You're certainly not going to hear that from the left, because they control the academia now, and 12-1 professors are 12-1 liberal over conservative across the country. So they control academia, and in controlling it, they're controlling the minds of our young people, and they're indoctrinating them. The first thing we need to do is take back our primary education systems, so we get kids who actually have foundational principles embedded through memorization and basic learning how to do math the right way, learning how to read the right way, so they're not dependent upon others to do so. We teach them that, and then free-thinking people will reject Marxism. You don't teach them that, and they just repeat what they're fed.
Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, I look forward every Monday to having this gentleman on our program, President of Americans for Limited Government, the best, Rick Manning. God bless you, man. Stay cool. We'll see you next Monday.
Thanks, Ed, and God bless you, too.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Straight shooter. I really like him, Rick Manning, and hopefully he's going to come out to Idaho, and we can get him in the studio do this program live. I'd really enjoy that. We've got another guest coming up in just a moment, but I want to remind you about some of the merchants over in Rupert area that are saying, come on over to the Minidoka County Fair and Rodeo, and they include Magic Valley Carpet, 613 D Street in Rupert. They're just off the square, and they have all your flooring needs, all your carpet, hardwood, vinyl, laminate. Everything in installation is guaranteed, and they've got the experience at Magic Valley Carpet in Rupert. And Scows, we want to say thank you to them. Big shout-out at 323 East 8th Street in Rupert. My goodness, only locally owned and operated auto parts store in the Mini-Cassia area. They know They know. And with every customer, their motto is every detail matters. They've been serving the Mini-Cassia area for over 70 years, and they just absolutely, they pride themselves on the parts counter pros and the service department technicians that take care of you at Scows. 323 East 8th Street in Rupert. Couple of great businesses saying, come on over to the Minidoka County Fair and Rodeo. Want to remind you, too, about our friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. I got to get in there. I told old Jeff I was going to stop in there this last week, and I didn't have the time. But I urge you to stop in and see our friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Wow. This would be a great time right now, this summer, for the beautification and comfortization of your home. I mean, I hate to say this, and I don't want to be the bearer of bad tidings, but fall and winter are around the corner. And you're going to be spending more time indoors, so make sure you've got everything taken care of, whether it's new flooring or whether you need some new furniture. Maybe you need a new recliner. The other one's getting a little raggy. Hey, they've got a great selection of recliners. And maybe you need new carpet. Oh, my goodness sakes, they've got great carpet values for you. And don't forget to mattresses for a good night's sleep. It's all there at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and let them serve you today. Get outside and enjoy. And if you are going outside today and tomorrow, but a little bit careful. The temperatures are going to be up there to where you're going to be sweating a little bit, maybe more than a little bit. And if you go outside and you want to have some fun getting up in the hills, whatever, don't forget Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. My, they're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. They've got all the watercraft. Hey, that's cool right now. Get in the water, get in the lake, get in the river with the watercraft. And don't forget they've got all the side-by-sides and the four-wheelers to go up in the hills. Oh, you'd better stop over and see them today. And a great accessory department and a service department to keep you running. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, where the fun is sold. You know, I've got a lot of guests on this program every week, and literally every month, hundreds. And this man always emerges at the top of the pile for interest and information that he provides. I have a lot of respect for him, a nationally recognized expert on foreign policy and energy. Mr. Dan Perkins, how are you? Wheels, is he there?
He is, sir.
I'm here.
There we've got him on the air. Evidently, we had the wrong toggle switch thrown. And Dan Perkins, you are really appreciated on this program because you're a straight shooter, like I said a moment ago. And one of the things over the weekend that a lot of people that I visited with, a lot of parents of children that are of age to go into the military, etc., what do you think is happening over in Iran and the Straits of Hormuz? How dangerous is this situation?
Well, thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure to be with you. Let me start off by saying to those people who have children who are thinking about going into the military, on a direct basis, we no longer have a dog in this fight, and the reason why I'm saying that is, I try to be as factual as possible. We have a situation where effectively the sanctions have shut down oil production for Iran, at least legally. They're not saying that they're not doing illegal production, but so that we have virtually decimated the economy and the country without ever firing a shot or putting an American soldier, male or female, in harm's way. So, and I don't see I can't come up with a rationale where we would be directly involved that we would put any of our American service people in harm's way. What's important to understand is before Mr. Trump withdrew from the nuclear accord, Iran was the third, and this is important, was the third largest exporter of crude oil in the world at approximately 3.8 million barrels a day. As of the end of June, the United States was the number one oil producer in the world at 12 million barrels a day, and this is the operative one. We are exporting 4 million barrels of oil a day. We are now exporting more oil than at the time before the sanctions took place, the third largest exporter in the world, Iran. We have taken them out of the market. Our energy supplies are sufficient to make up for the shortfall. And what we're basically seeing is a death struggle between Iran and OPEC. We may be actually witnessing the demise of OPEC as a political force. Remember, you and I are old enough to remember when we had, under Jimmy Carter, we had gas rationing. And we remember odds and evens and can only buy so many gallons of fuel, or whatever the deal was. It was because at that time we were 65% dependent on Middle Eastern OPEC oil for our energy supply. We are now in a position where we are not only energy independent, we're exporting about a third of our production overseas. So, normally speaking, Zeb, on a historical basis, there was a correlation between terrorist activity in the Straits of Hormuz and the price of crude oil. If you had introduction of tankers going through the Straits of Hormuz, which was one of the principal routes to get oil out of the Middle East, you would see significant, rapid increases in the price of crude oil. We've now had 3 tankers either stopped or sequestered, and the price of crude oil is lower now than it was at the beginning of the month. So the idea that blocking the Straits of Hormuz is not going to carry the political pressure that Iran was able to do under Jimmy Carter and Bill Clinton. And as we became more energy independent, it was immaterial to us. And so that's where we are. We're in a situation where we don't really have a dog in the fight. We don't need their oil. Our trading partners and our allies perhaps do, especially in Europe. And so there is a security interest there for our partners. But the other problem is that this is all for the purposes of distracting their very own people, which you and I have talked about on previous shows. The unemployment rate of under age 25 is 40%. The currency's dropped dramatically, almost 60% in the last 12 months. The inflation rate is about 42, but some economists think it could go to over 65. Food prices are up 40%. And so they don't have the money, they don't have the revenue. And there have been over 100 protests by the citizens of Iran against the government, which is the Islam Sharia government. And so that the Ayatollah, who is the head of the country, is coming under attack by the common people for what he's done and not done for the people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a huge amount of turmoil, but I don't see it affecting the price of oil at all, which says that probably that measurement standard that everybody used in the past has probably disappeared. And you've got to begin to think about what else does that mean? What does it mean to the power of OPEC as a cartel to control the world?
Right. We have a caller with a question, Dan, and then I want to do a follow-up on what you just said. Caller, quickly, you're on the air, please.
Well, Iran is they're so desperate, it's not funny. And so, if the Shah of Iran may not have been a perfect guy, but the people of Iran were healthy and wealthy, and they did well, and they were happy. And now they're in this, they're headed like Venezuela towards some terrible thing, and they're just under the control of the government. And, the uprisings that were occurring with Obama, and he squelched that, and the European media and our media covered it up. There was real activity going on with the people then, and, it's happening again, but you don't hear it on the news. I'll hang up. Thanks.
Respond to the caller, please, Dan, if you would.
Yeah, he's absolutely correct. You have to look really, really hard. And I go to the Daily Mail and I go to BBC Online, among other places, to get my news of what's happening in the rest of the world, because it isn't reported here. If it doesn't meet the agenda of the Obama administration when it was in power, or the press today, they don't report it domestically. And so Americans are left out in the cold and are not fully educated as to what's really going on. So there is a quick thing that I may have mentioned on your show some time ago, but it's worth repeating. Do you remember when the drone was shot down and we were going to respond, and President Trump withdrew the order for the counterstrike? And what most people don't understand, Zeb, is that there was a totally different alternative rationale for what Mr. Trump did. The week before that, the New York Times wrote an article stating that they, based on the sources they had, the Defense Department, personnel in the Defense Department and Justice decided they were not going to inform President Trump about certain covert activities because, quote, they could not trust him. And so it was a very short-lived piece. However, a week later, when the drone was shot down and the people were calling for scouts, Mr. Trump agreed to a limited response, and when he was told that the casualties would probably be about 150 people, and we suffered no casualties in our remote-controlled drone, he pulled the order. I don't believe he pulled the order because there were a possibility of 150 people might die. And I don't mean to be harsh about that. I'm trying to prove a point. Mr. Trump stopped the mission to let the people know in the Defense Department and Justice, I'm the President of the United States. I am the Commander-in-Chief. You don't withhold information from me.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. A message to what was going on in the D state in defense and in justice.
Absolutely.
And that's why he pulled the mission.
I want to go back for just a second, if I could, Dan, and I want to go back to OPEC. And maybe my question is naive, and maybe I should have brushed up on this more to have my own answer. But if OPEC is exporting oil as their only entity that is of value to the rest of the world from that part of the country, that part of the world, would they be like trapped rats backed into a corner and maybe create a major problem with national and worldwide security if all of a sudden they're diminished even further?
Well, that's a really, really good question. And I would say to you, if you look at what's currently happening in the Middle East, the country that's in play is not the United States. The country that's in play is Great Britain.
Mm-hmm.
Because they lost a tanker on Friday, another one was boarded, and then finally released. So Great Britain is the one in the hot seat. The question is, will they and can they respond? How will they respond? Will they ask NATO to help them respond, and the United States? Unknown at the moment, because they're in the midst of an election that takes place, I guess, this week with a new prime minister. So nothing's going to happen there until that part is sorted out. But it's important. The caller raised the question about what was going on in Iran compared it to Venezuela, and we should look at some of the other OPEC nations who are suffering much more so than Saudi Arabia, for example. Nigeria is a clone of what's going on in Venezuela. And so OPEC is coming apart, and as difficult as it is for the left to admit, they have to admit it's all because of what Mr. Trump did when he pulled out of the agreement and put in the sanctions. The caller is absolutely correct. Under the Shah, you had a population that was very wealthy, extremely well educated, and it wasn't perfect, but they lived in peace and harmony. When the revolution came and they threw out the Shah, brought in the Ayatollahs and the radical Islam, and making it a Sharia-compliant country, it has changed, and it has steadily gone downhill. And the only thing that was propping it up for many, many years was the price of crude oil coming in the door. Now that's not happening. It's not coming in, period, but the price is almost half of what it was. And so that creates a situation where there's going to be a lot of stress within OPEC, but they really don't have the ability to strike at America, the United States, unless it's the Abraham Lincoln task force that's there, the aircraft carrier task force. They're going to have to go outside of the Middle East to find targets to hit against the United States. Now they could go to some of the troop deployments in Afghanistan and Iraq, but I just don't see that. I hear all the bluster, Zeb, but I don't hear a sense of commitment to want to commit to die on the sword. They don't want to do that. And so as long as they don't want to do that, they're going to continue. Now, another event that our media didn't report, which is dealing with Iran, and that's the enrichment of the uranium. Under the terms of the agreement, which they still are a signatory to, even though we pulled out, there were limits as to the enrichment percentage that they could have. Well, they've they've gone past the 3.6% to now over 4%, and people think even more. So I wrote a piece. If you go to danperkins.guru, you'll see an article that says, Can the President Trump trust the Ayatollah? ? And there I go into the discussion of taqiyya and the ability of, under Sharia law, that allows the Muslims to lie when they are talking to infidels like us. And there was another piece I saw this morning by somebody else raising the same issue. Can we really trust whatever the mullahs or the Ayatollahs say they're going to do? Probably not.
Dan, we have seen, of course, the Democrats and the potential Democratic nominees for president absolutely rail and assault President Trump over the cancellation of the Iranian nuclear accord. But let me ask you this. With your expertise in studying what's being said to condemn Trump for pulling out of that nuclear accord, I, on the other hand, have never heard one single Democrat, whether it's Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, or Cory Booker, the list goes on, come up with any concrete answers as to how they would settle the problem with Iran. Your thoughts?
Oh, I think you're absolutely right. It's a keen observation. They are complaining about the things that Donald Trump is doing. They don't like them for a myriad of reasons, but you're right. They have no alternative suggestions. And they would prefer to have a situation. There was an article this morning with the committee chairman, Mr. Nadler, and his testimony of Robert Mueller this week, and he's talking about what they are trying to get out of this hearing, and they're looking for Mueller to confirm that there are impeachable offenses, and I don't think he's going there. This was a high risk maneuver, which was stupid to start with, but it just shows the ineptness of the Democrats. We're gonna put Mueller on the stand before two committees. Then we're going to have the next Democratic debate, a cast of thousands, and everybody's talking about, is Joe Biden going to go after Kamala Harris, and what happened to Beta? Why is he off the radar? And so the infighting continues. The infighting continues between the president and the squad. And I wrote a piece on that, which will be out shortly. The idea that the Democrats think because they won the House, they're in control of the government. And they don't understand that no matter what they say in the House, if the Senate and the President doesn't agree, nothing they pass is going to go anywhere. But they don't pay any attention to that. Their egos are so high. The reason why they don't have to, they believe, in my opinion, they don't have to respond with solutions. It's not their job. Their job is to govern and make the decisions for the people without telling necessarily the people why they're doing it. And that's part of their problem, in my opinion, is that it's a replay of what was going on in this country in 2016 and probably 40 years before that. The elites have decided they can make the decisions for us, regardless of what we think. They're going to do what they want to do.
One final thought regarding the Wednesday testimony of Robert Mueller. Dan, you know far more about this than I do, but really how, after 2 years and millions of dollars and all the detective work, if you will, how could he possibly on the stand testify that there is anything different than the final analysis?
Well, another good question. You've done your homework today. I give you a gold star for that. What's going on is that the Democrats have concluded that they cannot raise the issue of collusion because he was so emphatic in his report that he could find no evidence of Russian involvement in the election. So what the Democrats are going to focus on are the 6 items that Mueller articulated that he could not find enough evidence that he should indict the president. That's where they're going. And the first thing on the list is to whether or not did Mr. Trump obstruct justice by saying that he would like to fire Mueller. He has the right to fire Mueller. He has the right to fire Comey. Because remember, Mueller reports to the executive branch of the government, not the congressional branch. And the President of the United States is the chief executive officer of the executive branch, and he can fire anybody he wants. So what's going on here is that they're going to try and create a situation by dealing with the charges of potential obstruction of justice as a basis of which. I think, however, what was important was the vote last week on the Texas congressman's articles of impeachment. They need 218 votes in order to pass a bill of impeachment, which is starting the trial. In the articles of impeachment that was put on the table last Friday for the vote, only 96 Democrats voted. They need 217. That was the highest. And so it was 97 to 300 and something. So my point is that these people don't have the votes in the House to pass a bill of impeachment, even to begin the process of a trial.
Absolutely.
So what's happening tomorrow, or on Wednesday and Thursday, is an attempt to reignite the impeachment process to try and convince more Democrats that they should support. And Pelosi doesn't want to do it because Pelosi's as good a vote counter as anybody else. And she sees 96, I need 217, I'm not even halfway there.
Yep.
And the polls are tending to, the president seems to be rising in the polls, and she said, we cannot have an impeachment process without the support of the American people. When the president is polling now over 50% approval rate and 90% approval rate from the Republicans, you don't have the will of the American people to impeach him.
Absolutely. The man is the best. I appreciate his opinions and his thoughts, and he puts it all together so that we can all understand it. Dan Perkins, nationally recognized expert on foreign policy and energy. Dan, God bless you, my dear friend. Please come back soon.
Thank you. Anytime, sir.
All right, sir. Thank you. Dan Perkins, and, of course, author of the Red Nile Trilogy. I should say the Brotherhood of the Red Nile Trilogy. Absolutely an outstanding author, and appreciate him being on our program. Dan Perkins. Holy smokes, it's time for the weather. Wheel says time. It's past time. You better hurry, okay? The weather brought to you this hour by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, and they've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. The best serving you with tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, retirement planning, all of this and so much more. I urge you to contact them. Make an appointment today with offices in Burley and Rupert, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It is going to be a warm one today. Here's a look at your weather forecast, and we are in a hazardous weather warning due to the warm temperatures. We're expecting highs of 98. If you are outside working, it's probably going to get a little bit warmer than that. I'm saying triple digits, but this heat advisory is going to be in effect for tonight. By this evening, we are expecting partly cloudy skies, only a low of 63. Tomorrow, partly sunny skies, but we are expecting some afternoon rain showers, possibly some thunderstorms, maybe producing lightning strikes as well, so hopefully no wildfires are started. We are expecting a high of 94 with an overnight low of 63. By the time we hit Wednesday, mostly sunny skies and cooling off to 87. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb Grant.
Thank you, Gina, and brought to everybody this hour by our friends, and they are our friends that really help serve us with the best of accounting for the entirety of the Mini-Cash area for over 50 years. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. As I said, with offices in Burley and Rupert, make an appointment today. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. What do we got coming up next hour? We've got Karen Lugo, who's going to be on the program this morning, and she's an attorney who served as the director of the Center for the 10th Amendment Action in the Texas Public Policy Foundation. She's going to be on here talking about the census question, are you an American citizen? So Karen Lugo's coming up at 10:06. And then at 10:30 this morning, the lovely Miss Vicky with Vicky's Country Gardens. Don't miss that. Hey, I want to remind you, too, when you think about life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, all of this, don't forget our friends that are serving you over in Rupert, and that's Cameron and Siemens Insurance. They're located on Highway 24 in Rupert, very dedicated, very accessible, very devoted to serving you, and taking care of you, your family, and your business. So please pick up the phone, make an appointment today at 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, the best in Rupert. Thank you very much. Let's see what else have I got cooking here this morning. I think that is about it. I want to remind you that tomorrow on the program, we're going to have Dan Kish and with the American Energy Alliance, and I can't wait. We're going to turn that into a weekly segment, talking about various problems in the energy industry, talking about the idiocy of green energy with the wind and the solar. So that's going to be kind of a weekly segment on Tuesdays at 9:06. So you don't want to miss that tomorrow from Washington, D.C., Dan Kish. Right now, we're going to turn it over to our main studios, run to the news from CBS. I'll be back in about 7 minutes. Welcome back. Hour number 3, Zeb at the Ranch on this Monday, July 22nd. Thanks for being aboard, and we're going to be underway with our next guest in just a moment. I want to remind you that, of course, our major sponsor, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the best and safest of tires for your driving this summer. Stop in and see them today. And don't forget, too, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Want to remind you, too, about our friends over to Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley. Hello, Curtis and Lorena. Oh, my goodness. They literally have everything you need. Your electronics headquarters. You're looking for a brand new television set. The old one, bunky, kind of just goes flip, 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 and doesn't work right. Well, they've got all the Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, LG TVs. Great great selection. And don't forget, they've got all the car stereos and speakers and the home theater systems and the video surveillance cameras. All of this and much, much more. Close out on power cords, monster cables, 50% off. Well, you better stop in. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. That's Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley. Or give them a call, 678-6997. Talk about giving somebody a call. Don't forget, too, seniors, listen to me for a moment. I'll guarantee you homemade meals and housekeeping provided for the folks at Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living in Heyburn. Whoa, my, that's just a great big family fun time at Greystone Crossing. And I'll tell you what, the meals and the availability of them to take you to your appointments, like your doctor's appointments and everything, you're just going to enjoy the visit with your friends, the camaraderie. It's all there, and I urge you to call and schedule an appointment to check out the facilities at Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living in Heyburn. Number to call, 650-4979. That number again, 650-4979. Talk to Kelly or Matt Wiggins at Greystone Crossing. They're waiting to serve you. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, we go to the phone line, and we have an attorney who served as the director of the Center for the 10th Amendment Action at the Texas Public Policy Foundation. Whew, that's a mouthful. Let's get her on the air right now. Karen Lugo, how are you?
Very well. How are you doing?
I'm upset, Karen. I am sick and tired, and that's why I wanted to get you on the program this morning. I am sick and tired of catering to illegal aliens. I am sick and tired to them getting more care by our government and other governments coming in here than our citizenry, and I find it absolutely appalling that we can't find out who's a citizen or not by having a question on the census that says, are you an American citizen? Now, after all that, tell me if I'm wrong.
That sounds like common sense to me, especially when a country is organized according to foundational constitutional principles that say that we are independent, self-governing people who have a contract with our government, and we agree with that government to surrender some of our rights in order to gain protection, to gain various services or representation from our congressional members. But at the point that it becomes a matter of shielding us, who are citizens, and the government itself, and by the way, it is Congress's duty to know who is here as a citizen. They are given, in the Constitution, they are named as the branch of government that must control everything related to naturalization, which is immigration and citizenship. They need to know how many are here as eligible voting citizens. So I think that this whole controversy over the census and the fact that some people may not respond and there would be an undercount is a distraction, because as President Trump has proven, there are other ways to get that data, and there are other ways, as President Trump is going to accomplish now, to get the citizenship data.
You know, Karen, you're so well versed in this, and please don't laugh at my next question. I'm not sure how to frame it, but Congress makes the laws, and Congress is the responsible party for the laws that supposedly we're supposed to honor and hold dear in this country. But the Supreme Court all of a sudden says you can't put a question like, are you an American citizen, on the census? I don't see where really that should have ever been put before the Supreme Court.
That's a very good question. As far as the puzzlement over the response that came from the Supreme Court and the issue that took it to the Supreme Court. And as anyone who's familiar with the news that surrounded the Supreme Court decision, you understand that the Supreme Court said, yes, there is a constitutional right to ask this question and the fundamental need in this country to know who is here and counted as a citizen. I mean, we understand that our congressional representation is based on this count, and there are only 435 congressional seats, period. We don't get to create more seats because there are more people in the country, or more seats because people are here not lawfully, or not as citizens, but lawfully. It's a fixed number. So it's a zero-sum game. Therefore, Alabama is suing right now because Alabama is expecting to lose a seat, and likely California, no surprise there, when they're offering free tuition, and they're not the only state that offers free in-state tuition to illegals. I just heard Texas is now doing that as well. But they're also offering free medical care. So why would people who are not here lawfully not be attracted to that kind of a magnet? And then California, so far alone, has picked up what appear to be 3 to 6 congressional seats based on these numbers. So there is much at stake as far as power, as far as the Electoral College, because those numbers come right out of congressional seat counts, and federal funding. It appears about $80 billion is allocated according to the congressional representation numbers. So all of it represents a very big deal, a very big question that Americans should ask. And this question never involved a matter of a follow-up as to are you here legally or not. It was simply a matter of letting Congress know how many people are here as citizens, period. So did not seem like it was a big deal to a lot of us, but the fact that the Supreme Court found fault with the way that, or at least had questions, reservations about the way the question was developed and presented for the census, it left President Trump with the alternative of looking to now gather the data from other federal agencies.
Karen, this might sound simplistic, but you mentioned a little bit ago about constitutional principles. It amazes me that a country that was founded with a constitution that's been the best in the world ever, how in the world did we let these nutcases take us away from the constitutional principles and what it says and get us in this mess in the first place?
A lot of people have reached the point that they believe, whether it's based in public school education or popular culture around them, but that they believe the Constitution should evolve, adapt, should be interpreted by empathetic judges, et cetera, et cetera. Where that leaves is with a country that doesn't have firm footing in the constitutional standards that founded the country. So when we don't have a border and we don't have amnesty laws that make any sense, when we've admitted refugees that we've never asked whether they are serious about accepting and embracing this country and what it stands for, we wind up in a position where there's a question as to our sovereignty. Who and what are we? If we can't assimilate people and we can't accept them at a rate we can assimilate them, we have these controversies, as we do with Representative Ilhan Omar, where it's hard to know, based on questions and answers or answers she avoids or things she says, one, does she love America? You know, what is her level of attachment and fidelity to this country and the standards it represents? And what are her attitudes about the rule of law that she's been elected to represent?
You know, let me say this, Karen, and again, I'm not some far-right radical. I'm very conservative, but I'm worried about my country. I'm worried about the borders. I'm worried about the future for my grandchildren. And when you have an open borders type situation where, come on in, y'all, join the beer party Sunday afternoon out on the front lawn, you have nothing but chaos. You're not going to have people paying their taxes. Why should they? You're not going to have a country. You're just going to have a great big freewheeling to hell situation.
Europe is an example of what happens when a country just opens up to people, any and all comers, who come as economic migrants. We can't take everyone who would rather live in the United States than where they are living. There have just been some economic results coming out of some of the Central American countries where these migrants are coming from. And it shows that their unemployment is really not that bad. The economic growth rates are really not that bad. So when you're considering who we would be offering economic immigration to, if that was even a standard that we were prepared to say as a country that we would offer, these countries are not likely even among the worst. So none of this makes any sense as far as who it is that we're opening up our country to and allowing mass migration based on likely, again, economics. I mean, certainly most of them are not qualifying for asylum. So it's a really dangerous proposition to be allowing other people from outside to make the decision as to whether they come to our country or not, rather than the citizens and the elected representatives of this country who are the ones who will be footing the bill and who will be creating the kind of environment that we are expecting these newcomers to assimilate into.
Karen, I'm not trying to sound pessimistic, but I'm afraid it's going to come out that way. I do not see any way, any avenue that the Republicans or the Democrats are going to go down before 2020 to try to solve this issue, if then. I'm not, like I said, trying to sound totally negative, but who in the world's going to step forward and wave a magic wand and say enough is enough?
I think the American people, in many ways, are becoming very concerned, if not frustrated, with the Democrats' constant answer, which is, if Trump wants to do it, it's wrong, and we'll oppose it. And our path to power is going to be the route that we take to get, whether it's additional seats, the funding that controls the various aspects of governing and controlling people's lives. That is something that the American people ultimately are, this election cycle, looking at and saying, no, we don't want socialism. Why would we do that? Why would we consider it? And so as these various fault lines are defined, I think it becomes very apparent that we must demand of anybody running from office a very clear concept of what they see this country as being. What is rule of law? What does it mean? And how important is it that we are looking for citizenship candidates that are here to embrace and become Americans as defined by our Constitution?
Karen, are you, as a person that's very knowledgeable on this subject, are you kind of wondering and in awe of how those four women that form the squad have basically taken over the Democratic Party and are leading Schumer and Pelosi and the rest of the Democrats right up to the edge of the cliff? I'm scared of those four women. I'm scared of what they could possibly do, and I'm scared of their influence on the American public, especially our young people, the millennials. What are your thoughts?
I think many in the Democrat Party are scared of them in a sense that what they are advancing is so far to the left of even many in the Democrat Party and certainly many independents. In fact, just on the issue of the census question alone, a majority of Americans, 60%, depending on the poll, approved of asking the question. But interestingly, 55% of Hispanics also agreed. Every immigrant that I know, and I have some in my very close nuclear family, every immigrant that I know approved of asking the question. And this is just, when it comes to basic common sense and you look at the positions of these women, and the fact that they have been so unapologetic in wanting to advance socialism and in challenging the very basic foundations of our rule of law, I think that even many in the Democrat Party are very concerned about where these women would take the country.
There are many that have said, many have been on my program, as a matter of fact, that the demise of the Democratic Party is almost imminent if those four individuals continue in their power quest to lead the Democratic Party. But on the other side of the coin, I'd like you to talk a little bit about the weak-kneed, no-spine Republicans that won't stand up to anybody, and they've really helped this problem exacerbate itself.
Well, and this is why we have President Trump, isn't it?
Absolutely.
The fact that people became so disillusioned by those in office who would not stand up for the promises they ran on and the pledges to uphold the Constitution of this country. So we do have a president, and I'm recalling the book by Victor Davis Hanson, The Case for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at him in a historical context, he has been willing to take on all of those structures that seem to be untouchable, all of the things that we were warned, you can't talk about that, you can't go there, you can't challenge that, you can't take out all those regulations. Look what would happen if you challenge those regulations. And then we find out that not only is he winning, is he able to undermine and eradicate a lot of the regulations. They're even accomplishing more in Washington than they said they would do. So it is a remarkable achievement to see what can happen when there is strong leadership. President Trump is not afraid of the media. He's not afraid of those that are going to criticize what he's doing. And so while, he may be called a bull in a china shop as far as the way he presents his ideas, there still is the matter of looking at the substance of what he has done. And when he has fulfilled his pledge to put judges in the courts that do uphold the Constitution, and he has moved ahead with a lot of the foreign policy positions and the American domestic kinds of reforms that he promised to do no matter what, it is very impressive. And I see that a lot of potential candidates are likely taking heart, and we may now be looking at an election cycle where some of these people are coming forward and taking courage from what President Trump has been able to accomplish.
Absolutely. One final thought, and I don't mean to put you on the spot on this, Karen, but I'd like to know, of the 974 Democrats that are running for president, which one scares you the most that may have the most political clout?
As far as if you're talking the races that are across the board, but those that are for federal office, as I mentioned before, I am very concerned about an Ilhan Omar who came to this country as a refugee and has thoroughly enjoyed the benefits of our various social programs, of assistance in the means of whether educational loans and all of the wonderful things that America can offer through the social safety network. And then she winds up turning on the country at the point that she's elected to office. There are very significant questions surfacing as to what rules, laws, codes, tax regs she may have violated. And I am concerned when a person like that is untouchable, when you can't ask the questions, when you can't find out. And that's all this should be, is a process of being able to ask the foundational questions. What is your pledge to commit to the rule of law? What is your intention to comply with not only laws but constitutional principles? So it's very troubling when there are people who come from an orientation outside this country that is very much opposed to our constitutional standards, and it's important to know, where do you stand? Are you an American constitutional-loving person who is eligible to represent us, or are you still faithful to laws and codes and rules that are not in alignment with our Constitution?
You know, Karen, I absolutely am going to keep your name right here on file to call more frequently. You are excellent, an attorney that really knows her stuff. Karen Lugo, God bless you, and please come back soon.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
Thank you. Excellent lady. Excellent lady, talking about the census question, are you an American citizen, and much more in politics. Karen Lugo, and we will, you can bet on it, have her back on the program. I want to remind you about our friends at Dino Septic Service. Hello, Dinos. Boy, I'll tell you, on these hot summer days, you don't want to be standing out there pumping a septic tank. No, but they do. And you don't want to be messing around with liquid waste removal or sewer and sink drain lines clean. No, but they do. Dino Septic Service, they really, really serve you. And they've expanded their business to better serve more people. Absolutely. Number to call, 436-6526 or 678-1638. Fast, fair, friendly service. These are really nice people. Dino Septic Service, with that big truck that says smells cargo on the way. You give them a call today and let them serve you. Dino's Septic Service. We're going to have Vicky's Country Gardens at the bottom of the hour. Don't forget, on Wednesday, we have Sportsman's Warehouse with the old fishing hole with Josh Anderson. He's going to be out on some river, some stream, some lake, and he's going to be fishing while he calls in. And, of course, brought to you by our friends that have it all. Sportsman's Warehouse, 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls. Want to remind you, too, there's a great big tent event going on at Redder's Showcase. Holy moly, all the way through the 27th. You better stop in and save money. It's the giant indoor tent event, up to 50% off. Woo! Up to 12 months, same as cash on approved credit. Check it out. I mean, you've got great buys on Whirlpool and Speed Queen, and I'll give you an example. Dishwashers starting at just $329, ranges starting at just $399, and I'll tell you what, it is absolutely the place for American-made products, and that's Redder's Showcase, 2611 Overland in Burley, with their great big giant indoor tent event going on right now. You stop in and say hello. We're going to take a little break, send it over to Wheels at our main studio, and come back in a couple of minutes. Have a great day. Don't go away.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb.
Oh, my. It's a Monday morning, and how does your garden grow? Well, hopefully very well in the sunshine and the warm temperatures. And right now we're going to find out more about gardening and what to do, what not to do, what you better do. Vicky's Country Garden at 185 South, 600 West of Paul. The lovely Miss Vicky, good morning.
Good morning, Zeb. Are we ready for those 100-degree temperatures?
Really, though, when you think about it, Vicky, and cut off all that feedback, there we go. When you think about it, we're blessed to the point where, yes, it might get warm for a day or two up there around triple digits, but think about how devastating it is where they have high humidity.
Yeah. So I said, everybody's complaining. I said, hey, it could be a lot worse. It could be back east where you got 100% humidity and 110-degree temperatures. To me, that's deadly.
Well, it is. As a matter of fact, my aunt lives in a town called Watertown, Wisconsin, and they issued a senior alert over the weekend to stay indoors by the air conditioning because of the extreme 100-plus degree temperatures, which ended, and all of a sudden it dropped 38 degrees yesterday. But wow. With the humidity, it's very dangerous.
Yes, it is. And everybody, the problem, of course, back in those big cities, everybody gets to push in the air. Then they have the blackouts, which then nobody has nothing. So
yeah.
That can be ugly. So we are really fortunate where we live. We don't have we don't have the floods and the tornadoes and the hurricanes and all of that kind of stuff. We need to just look out and go, yeah, it's going to be warm for a few days, but we know how to handle it, so it's not a problem.
There you go. Vicki, what about, though, the transition, if you will, accept that word, of maybe going from the low 80s on an average per day to where maybe we are going to have a couple of days of just maybe some high heat? What does it do to the plants?
Well, the plants are going to suffer a little, and you're going to see some of them wilting. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're dry. I mean, if you've got them watered properly, like I've always said, water either early mornings or late or in the evening, so those plants can absorb their moisture and be fully hydrated when the heat hits them. But some of these plants and that are having the big leaves, like your squash, your pumpkins, your cucumbers, and those kind of things, it's hard for them to get that moisture to stay fully fluid out into those big leaves, and they will wilt a little bit. But that's not the reason to run out and throw the water on them. They'll come back up in the evening, and they'll be fine. I mean, it's just nature. It's just the way it happens. They expel more moisture than they're able to take up and furnish to those big leaves.
Okay, which leads me to ask you this. Should a flat watering system below the plants and under the leaves, is that the most ideal situation?
To me, that's because you want the water on the roots. Most plants do not take up a lot of water through their foliage. So if you're going to get a deeper, more uniform, solid, deep watering by running water on the roots, on the ground. And you're not going to cause any kind of sunburn damage on your leaves and things of that nature. I don't recommend sprinkling during the middle of the day for two reasons. It wastes water because of the evaporation, and it can put way too much moisture and humidity down inside those big plants, say tomatoes, that kind of thing, and then your humidity comes up real high, and that's when you start getting powdery mildew and all different kinds of fungus.
Okay, we have a caller with a question. You could hear the cow. And caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I called Vicki earlier this year about my red onions that were volunteers, and she said that they would go to seed. Well, they're all really tall and have a nice white puffball on top. Only, where are the seeds?
The seed is in that white puffball. When it comes up and forms that big ball on top, that is the seed. That's when you see the onions growing in the fields that are growing for seeds. It looks like a whole bunch of white puffballs. That's what it is. It's the onion seed.
Okay, caller?
You just shake the flour and the seeds fall out? Is that it?
Yeah. Yeah, you can harvest those seeds if you want to for onions for next year. But yeah, and usually the onion down in the ground is not as solid because it's sprouting out of the center of the onion. So there's parts of the onion down there in the bulb that can be used, but it's usually not a real good solid one to the core.
All right, caller, thank you very much for calling in on your onions. Appreciate that. Vicki, let me ask you this question. I would assume that here we are, almost the 1st of August. I would assume that most everything they planted is almost ready to harvest and eat, right?
A lot of stuff would be starting to come on. I know people are starting to get zucchini coming on. I mean, radishes have already been on, and a lot of people have pulled them and quit with them. Lettuce and stuff like that, you're having to replant real often to keep it going and keep it sweet. Tomatoes should be setting on good. They're probably, unless you got the real early varieties, you're a ways out on fresh tomatoes, and corn is a little bit behind this year. Some corn may be starting to set on, but it'll be a while on some of that. But some of your earlier crops, will be ready. A lot of people are doing the, Brussels sprouts and those kind of things are are setting on to where they can use all of that kind of stuff.
Okay. Now, we had another question. Last week we mentioned this briefly, and we're talking about home canning and preservation of your foods that you have grown in your garden. And I had not one but two people call me this morning prior to going on the air, and they said, what about the safety of canning? Both said that they were young housewives and really had never been taught about home canning, but they'd like to learn, but they're scared of the dangers that might happen with botulism, etc. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, on canning, there are some foods that need to have a pressure cooker. If you're doing anything with meats or anything like that, those need to be pressured for the exact amount of time, because that's your danger area. Beans are another one that unless you're going to freeze them. But beans need to be pressure cooked. The pressure cooking heats those up, cooks them, and sterilizes that whole solution, so there's no botulism in it. A lot of things can be what we call water baths, which is just hot jars, hot lids, and put in deep canners with the boiling water for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever the recommendations are. And pickles and things like that have enough vinegar and things in them that takes care of any bacteria and that kind of stuff. But if you're in doubt and you want to know, there will be coming up from your extension agents, and that there will be classes coming up on canning, on pressure cooking, and anytime you're in doubt, you can call your extension agents, either Cache County or Minidoka County, and they have really good info books, that kind of thing, that will explain a lot of that kind of thing to you, because canning is an excellent thing to get into. It's very rewarding, but you do want to be careful and know what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, another lady had sent in a note, and she said, here we are almost the 1st of August, and she said, is it too late to plant anything more for this year?
Well, it's like I've told people, you can still do your some of your quick crops, like your radishes. People are still planting radishes. That you just plant smaller amounts to where you can utilize them quicker, because they're going to come up and they're going to grow a lot faster. They'll go to seed on you real fast. So plant small amounts and start to use those, and then plant more. Just do it that way. Lettuce, spinach, that kind of thing, same way. Smaller amounts of it to where you can utilize it in 1 or 2 cuttings and then move on to a fresh batch. But a lot of people start planting, normally for peas and stuff, they'll wait a little while until about the end of August and then plant a fall crop of peas. You can do that type of thing. You still plant carrots and stuff because they grow way late into the fall. So there's still some things that could be planted.
Okay, by the way, it should be pointed out that at 60 miles an hour going by your place the other day, I noticed again the wonderful statues of the mare and the colt, but I'd never noticed until the last time I went by the big chicken.
Yeah, we've had that big chicken a long time. He's kind of our mascot. He's a pretty colorful character.
I would agree with that. It's time for the world famous Vicky's gardening tip of the week. Go ahead. What have you got for us today?
Well, my thought for today and for the rest of this week is be careful. Don't get out in the heat. Don't try hoeing your gardens and stuff in this heat. Do it in the mornings. Do it in the evenings when it's cool. Stay hydrated and just take it easy and be careful. Sunstroke and those kind of things are not fun. They're very dangerous. And sit back in a nice chair under a shade tree in the house looking out the window and just enjoy your garden from a distance during the heat.
You know, and what you just said there, elaborate a little bit more, because I know that my mother, who passed away about 6-7 years ago, she never would go out in the garden without a great big sun hat on. I know it got in her way a lot, but boy, that heat and that humidity back there, it can be very deadly.
Yes, it can. And if you are going to have to work out in the sun, I mean, use the cool wraps and the things like that around your neck to keep yourself cool down. Take time, go in, cool off, and come back out. But don't fight it. Don't try to be the macho person and stay out in the heat, because it is very deadly. and you can get very sick and be sick for a long, long time.
Absolutely. What about the decorative rock and the exterior beautification of their homes? You've got all that material, too.
We've got all of the different landscape products that they need. We've got all different sizes of weed mat to put down. You can buy it by the roll or by the foot. We've got all the rock, the bark, pretty much everything you need. Lots of perennials still. It's still not too late to plant trees and shrubs and things like that, as long as you're aware of how to take care of them and things of that nature. And we just got in our new products that are coming in with our molasses in them, our tree savers. If you've got trees that are in trouble, come in and see this product. I think you'll be totally impressed. If you've got tomatoes that are struggling and not looking real good, I've got one that's for those too that has molasses in it that will give them a boost, and you'll see a big difference in these tomatoes and vegetables and that if you'll use some of these products. They're all organic, but they are awesome products.
Okay, now what are your hours as we creep up on August 1st?
We are doing, we're from 9 to 5:30 now, Monday through Friday. Saturdays we are 9 to 3, and we are closed on Sundays. Unless someone's needing something on Sunday, then make an appointment with me when I'm in watering, and we'll take care of it.
Oh, I tell you what a wonderful lady, and she really is so knowledgeable about everything about gardening and exterior design and implementation of such on your property. Vicky's Country Garden, the lovely Miss Vicky at 185 South, 600 West of Paul. God bless you. Stay cool.
I plan on doing just that, Zeb, and you too. Enjoy those adult beverages while you're looking out at the sunshine.
I thought you would never ask. Thank you. All right.
Yeah.
Vicky at Vicky's Country Gardens, one of the nicest people you could ever be around. Thank you so much. Hey, let's go to the weather forecast right now, and then we'll take some more calls. Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. Wow. I mean, you got a great big family reunion coming up, or a company picnic, or whatever the case might be. All the relatives coming over. Woo! Be sure and get a hold of Scarrows Meats. Maybe for the marinated pork ribs, or the tri-tips, or maybe all the bratwurst, or the buckboard bacons, the different kinds of bacon. All the meats. Fantastic. You better get a hold of them today. The number to call, 324-7657. Scarrows Meats of Jerome. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It is going to be a warm one today. Here's a look at your weather forecast, and we are in a hazardous weather warning due to the warm temperatures. We're expecting highs of 98. If you are outside working, it's probably going to get a little bit warmer than that. I'm saying triple digits, but this heat advisory is going to be in effect for tonight. By this evening, we are expecting partly cloudy skies, only a low of 63. Tomorrow, partly sunny skies, but we are expecting some afternoon rain showers, possibly some thunderstorms, maybe producing lightning strikes as well, so hopefully no wildfires are started. We are expecting a high of 94 with an overnight low of 63. By the time we hit Wednesday, mostly sunny skies and cooling off to 87. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb Durant.
Thank you, Gina, and brought to you by Don Scarrow and his excellent staff at Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Again, that telephone number, 324-7657. You can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd appreciate hearing from you, so give me a jingle. Yesterday, I watched the induction ceremonies for Major League Baseball. And I got to tell you that I thought all of the inductees very deserving of being in the Hall of Fame. And one gentleman that is absolutely a gentleman is Mariano Rivera, the greatest of all time relief pitcher, and played for the New York Yankees. And the way he conducted himself, the way he stood up there so professionally, the way he thanked all of his teammates, all of his family, all of his coaches, and the team owners. Everything was first class. But above all, first and foremost, his opening remarks were that he thanked his Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And he was very emphatic about it. This man has that 5-letter word all over his name. Class. Absolute class. Mariano Rivera. I will never forget his remarks of thank yous during that induction ceremony. However, a liberal loon, pathetic left-righter, condemned him, went after him, and basically said that he should have never been inducted into the Hall of Fame. A man by the name, and I got other names for him, Robert Silverman, ripped the greatest relief pitcher of all time, and he said that he is a man who served at the pleasure of a racist president and had taken part in thinly veiled propaganda on behalf of a far-right government, and absolutely hated Mariano Rivera because he was a friend of Israel. And he went on through this whole scathing news story, if you want to call it that, and give it that kind of credit, and ran Mariano Rivera down for his remarks of thank yous. I just couldn't believe this filth when I read this story by Silverman. And if there was ever a case in point of where you wanted to read something and then go up and punch the author in the nose, yep, this is it. This is it. He said, and I'm quoting what Silverman said about Mariano Rivera, has made numerous trips to Israel, and his support for Israel Defense Forces is a matter of public record. He also guilty of being named Man of the Year in 2013 by the New York Board of Rabbis. What's wrong with that? What is wrong with what Mariano Rivera did to help others and support others? And especially, what's wrong with thanking his Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? We live in a sick, perverted, dumbed-down society today. And when I sat there and watched all the inductees, and especially this man, Mariano Rivera, it made me proud of Americans and their pastime, baseball. And for this writer, this Silverman, an absolutely disgusting piece that was written to do nothing more than denigrate a great man and his family and his abilities and his team. It was really pathetic. This is where the left is today. Tear down, slam, damn, and demean. We've got to clean up our act somehow. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call, please. I'd like to hear from you. While I'm waiting for your call, I want to urge you to stop into any one of the 7 Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, they are good. Oh, they care. Oh, they provide great service. All 7. Stop in and check out all the tires, all the tread designs, all the sizes for your cars, pickups, SUVs, horse trailers, boat trailers, whatever you need tires for. They're there to serve you. And don't forget, too, that if you're going on a trip, you can stop in for a free pre-trip safety check. Absolutely. Checking the air tire pressure in your cars, and, of course, the wheel alignment for tire wear, front-end components, shocks and struts, battery, including a load test, brake components. They want you to have an enjoyable trip this summer, and they want you to turn around and come home safely. So stop in and see the best today. All 7 of the Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland in Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
How you doing, Zeb?
Good.
I'm so sick of these idiots in Washington on the left. They're not trying to accomplish anything. They're just trying to get rid of the 2016 election, and they need to leave us alone on our religion. I don't bug them because they're atheists or they don't believe in God or whatever. It doesn't bother me that they don't do that. And someday they'll have to be the ones to deal with that. But leave me alone on mine.
Sir, that was extremely well stated, and I just wish that for the goodness that's still left in this world, i.e. Mariano Rivera, a great man, a great humanitarian, why they had to wait a day after his induction into the Hall of Fame to try to destroy him is absolutely filthy and sleazy.
It's just fling and hate. They don't have a life. They hate themselves. So they got to fling the hate on everybody else.
I totally agree with you, and thank you for your call. I appreciate that very much. Thank you, and have a wonderful day. Thank you. Thank you. You too. Thank you very much. I can't believe it. Here's a guy that I followed his career, and he came from nothing to be one of the best baseball players of all time, and so humble, and so appreciative, and so thankful to the people that helped him along the way, and helping others with one of his many, many charities that he's involved in. And yet, after the induction ceremony, this bozo had to sit down and write absolute filth and sleaze about a man that had devoted his life to being kind and generous. That tells me what a wicked, evil society we're turning into and allowing to happen. Tomorrow on the program, don't forget, oh boy, we've got Dan Kish, energy expert, coming on the program, economics expert, Dr. Michael Busler. Boy, he knows everything about our economy. And, of course, don't forget, too, we've got Dr. History. We've got all kinds of things. A jam-packed program tomorrow on Zeb at the Ranch, where when we end the program, we always say, the way things were are the way things ought to be, and the world needs more cowboys. But also, remember this, our national motto, in God we trust. See you tomorrow morning at 8:06. Zeb at the Ranch. Have a great day.